Hello, welcome to the TNT Podcast. My name is Darren, this is Tuna, and welcome to the show. So for those of you who are unfamiliar, the TNT Podcast is all about the latest and greatest tech news and product reviews. In fact, we've got a lot to talk about today. So we have a hit list of the last week's been hot in the tech space, Tuna. I don't know if you've been paying attention to it at all.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit. Yeah. Given that we're doing a tech podcast, I always find it funny when you ask somebody, have you been following the news? And they actually say no. And then we get in here and all of a sudden the conversation unfolds naturally and gradually. So let's kick things right off with iOS 17. So Apple released their developer preview of their latest software. And it's actually been met with some pretty good reception. Tuna, have you been paying attention to the chatter?
Yes, and something I saw today, which was kind of interesting, is people are saying that their camera processing has changed. Now, I haven't heard if it's better. Some of the examples, I think you pointed out in some of them, no camera's perfect, but I don't know. Apple's playing the catch up with a lot of the other Pixel devices. So I think maybe it could be one of those things. I don't know.
Well, so the biggest problem for me, and this is, a lot of people complain about the iPhone 14 series, especially the Pro series, just not living up to expectations. And for those of you who are unfamiliar, if you're living in the ignorant world of Apple, you probably have heard none of this. But for everyone else that maybe follows other tech, a lot of people have been complaining about the device. It's been buggy, battery hasn't been great, but a lot of people have been complaining about the camera. So for the last generation of iPhones, while they do take still some exceptional video, and I'm not debating video, iPhone I think will always be best for that. People have been...
Don't say always. Sorry. You never know.
Currently. There's no Android equivalent, basically. But what I was getting at was that people have been complaining a lot about the camera, especially when it comes to photography. So I know, we've had a lot of people talking about the cameras and the photos on iPhones, but one of the most common problems is their crazy HDR. So, Apple used to be known for its HDR. The processing capabilities, the post-processing that's added to photos, they used to be great. And I think it wasn't until about the iPhone 12 series was probably its peak. After the iPhone 12, we started to see things go a little bit downhill. Now, photo processing, just piggybacking off what Tuna said here, a lot of people are saying that the photos have been improved with the latest update. Now, I pointed out, and I think he goes by Big Daddy is the Twitter username, but a fellow person from Perth, Australia, just for the record, he was complaining that he was saying that the photos look better, especially at night, which I do agree with. So something in the developer preview has shown us that they're working on the night processing, especially.
And just as a caveat, it is a developer's preview or beta test, so things can go back or forward. We don't really know where it's going to land at this point. So,
well, it makes me interested because if they're working on the night processing, does that mean that something is going to be happening with the camera on the latest iPhone? Like, are they going to have a specific increase or change in night photography?
Yes, iAstro mode, right? iStar mode or something.
Oh yes, that's iStar mode, yeah. So a lot of people are saying that especially the photo processing today. What someone posted that on Twitter saying that it's better, which again could go either way. But generally speaking, there's been a lot of positive feedback on what's going on in the developer preview, which normally is full of bugs. Now, I won't lie, I did download it on my iPhone 14 Pro Max. I have since taken it off my iPhone 14 Pro Max. The one thing that I was most interested in, and coming from a Pixel, I'm a big Pixel fan, as you can probably see behind me, but I wanted to see if the auto correction on the keyboard was better, because a lot of people are swearing that it's been improved. I can confirm it is much better. Speech to text, meh. It's never going to be as good as the Pixel. But it's interesting to see the changes that they've made. So I know we have in the green room standing by, we have Ace, who's a really big Apple guy. So I'm just going to invite him in to say hi. Ace, how you doing, buddy?
Hey, how's it going? Need to turn up the volume here.
It's all good.
There you are. Now I can hear you.
So we were just talking general feedback on the iOS 17 developer preview 1 and 2. So I know you're a big Apple guy, and I know you probably downloaded it, I assume.
I have not.
Oh, okay. Now,
wow.
That's actually a good point of view. Why haven't you downloaded it?
Well, number one, when it comes to beta testing, things like that, I'm typically more on the Android side of the house. Apple is pretty basic, and that's my one of the things I like about it. One of the things I don't like about it. It's a very simple way about doing things. So I really don't get excited about the Apple developer beta test program.
Okay.
But I do look forward to certain things with Apple. But there are a couple elephants in the room regarding Apple and iOS 17 and all the things that are going to be coming up.
Okay, so what can you tell us? What's your
well, the one thing that I would like to address, is, you know, we're spending $1,200, $1,400 on these phones, right? And you know, you can't type in certain phrases. You got some censorship issues. You go to certain websites, and iOS doesn't let you do whatever it is you want to do. And now it doesn't matter what you're doing. iOS should not be iOS should not be treating its customers like we're toddlers. Now, it's a parent's job whenever a kid has an iPhone to go ahead and lock down that kid's iPhone. But if you're a grown adult, you're spending $1,400 on a phone, I should be able to swipe type any phrase I want. It doesn't matter if I'm Barack Obama or the leader of the KKK. I can say whatever I feel like because it's my phone. Now,
okay, hey, so let's just rewind for a second. Can I just rewind for a second? So is this something that is new with this developer preview, or is this something that we're hearing about now?
It's something that's been going on forever with Apple and all that. And even in the developer preview, you're not going to get nothing new. Apple's basic. And the thing with Apple, you got their shareholders or stakeholders, and they're owned by a few different people. And Apple is only told to go as far as they need to go in order to satisfy their shareholders. So they're really not going to they're not like Android and Google. And part of the reason Google is the reason they are so, now I'm tongue-tied. The reason they're so big in their development is they do it for ad revenue, okay? So, yes, they got a lot of big, what's the word I'm looking for when a company develops a lot of new things? No, aspirations? Whenever they're innovative. Like Google's very innovative, but they're innovative not only to help us, but they're innovative to help their bottom line. Apple is innovative in a way because they know that their devices do certain things really well. Now, the reason I love using Apple devices is I'm a content creator, and it makes it real easy. I don't need to install, LumaFusion. I don't need to install all that other nonsense. It comes with iMovie, and I can do everything right here on this phone. And this iPhone right here just this month has made me $4,000 on YouTube. So, I mean, think about that.
So then let me ask you the question, right? So I know, Ortuna, so I think you were going to jump in there. Do you want to?
He was talking about. So I read something about what Ace was saying about how when you were in iMessage, you're trying to type a profane word, let's put it that way, it would automatically change it, which a lot of things do. A lot of apps do that on both sides of the camp. But I thought I read something that people were saying some of those words have now changed and you can type them without limitation. I thought some people were posting stuff on Twitter. I could be wrong. I don't have my iOS device hasn't been turned on in 8 months. So you're saying.
You're saying if I wanted to say you're an ugly mother ducker, it's actually correcting it now.
That's what I was told. You say duck instead of the alternative, and I don't know if that's true. Ace, you haven't installed it, you said so, but I swear I read somewhere they were.
So I just tried typing in the phrase "white boy" and I typed in "white butt."
Right.
That's just one thing.
Okay.
Right.
Okay,
and here's the reason I discovered this. I was doing a police report not too long ago, and I was trying to describe somebody, and I was doing it on the phone, and I was like, he's a white boy, and it wouldn't do it. So then I tried doing he's a white guy. It wouldn't do it. And I'm like, what the hell's wrong with my phone? Then I looked into it, and that's the reason why. It won't let you, because Apple thinks it's racist.
Right. So let's just kind of like collect all this up.
Hold on. So when you say it, it wouldn't transcribe it. But when I'm in Google Messages and I type a cuss word, it won't type it right off the bat. But I can go back and then actually change it. So you're saying Apple won't let you change
Actually, and on the Google keyboard, you go to the settings and you enable
you can change
offensive words. It'll let you do whatever you want. But there's no setting inside of iOS that'll let you do that.
So, Ace, was that through typing or was that through voice to text?
So that was typing. Now I'll do voice detection real quick. That person was a white boy. Now, oops. Now it let me do it with the voice dictation.
Right. So it's the physical typing that's creating things. It's interesting.
Do you really, does it surprise you that Apple's trying to conform? Because they've got a base, like you said, they have shareholders they've got to make happy. So they've got to
do that. Well, it's very disgusting that they're doing that.
It is.
And it's not the corporations, shareholders, they shouldn't be dictating policy that are forcing this crap on us. It's not their job. We have a Bill of Rights and a Constitution. And I hate to go down that route, but you can see my background. You can see what I've been up to lately. I'm over here trying to see what I'm doing here. You can see what I've been doing lately on YouTube. I changed my name and everything on YouTube. My main channel is Liberty Talks. Now, Ace Lucero Tech is still a thing, but I only got like 2 or maybe 10 subscribers on that one right now. Right. But and the reason I did this is, I know we're talking about something here, and I'm not sure how many people are watching right now.
I have no idea because my screen, I've got it maxed out on full screen.
Hold on. I'll look right here. So right now we have, what the hell? Right now we have 2 people watching.
2 people.
So I wanted to say something real quick. Look, Darren and 2NA Tech. What's your first name, buddy, or do you divulge that?
Jason's fine. No, that's fine.
Jason. So I wanted to talk about something to you two right now. Now, I know a lot of people like YouTube, for example. You all make very thoughtful and intuitive videos. And this is a little off topic here, but it's frustrating because I know a lot of smaller tech YouTubers who make terrific content, amazing content, better than I can ever make. And they don't even have any subscribers. They get like 10 views on a masterpiece of a video. But then now you go and you look at, like, for example, what I went and did. Because I'm really, really good at teaching people how to use their phones. I'm kind of like Saki Tech or Jimmy's promo. I'm really good at saying, okay, go here, and do this, do that. But those videos were not getting any views, and the money was minuscule. But I go ahead and I switch it up, and I go back to my old format, and I used to do talk radio. And anyway, so I go back and I start doing a little more political stuff on YouTube, and boom, it explodes. And it's like, well, this isn't fair. This actually sucks, Yeah, and to me, it's not right.
Well, it speaks to the state of, I think, just tech discussion in general, right? I've seen so many posts from people on Twitter saying that they're over the bullshit, right? Like all the back and forth between what's better, what's worse, and I want to call it bullying. The bullying that happens from an Android user to an iPhone user and vice versa. I think I think you bring up a good point, and I think in the space, we fight for our subscribers, right? People that find us organically. We don't advertise, we're doing this out of a passion for tech and a passion for, just technology in general and all things like it. But it's just a shame that, some of these smaller people that are out there just don't get the recognition. And I have to agree with you there, Ace. I think you're onto something there when you say,
I definitely am. I want to bring something else up too. And what you were just talking about there, because I thought I was shadow banned. You all have seen me on Twitter saying, I think I'm shadow banned. I even reached out to Rene Ritchie, and of course that dude ignores me, and that's fine, because I pissed off all his buddies over at Android Central a few years ago, just because they tried diving into politics, and they were talking trash. So I just told them to just stop doing it, and we ended up getting back and forth, and it went out of control. But that's neither here nor there. What I wanted to say, though, is so I start making these political videos, and all of a sudden I'm getting paid. And it's like, this isn't fair, because I literally thought I was shadow banned. And I think it's nonsense that YouTube doesn't tell people, hey, honestly, YouTube already knows what your channel is pegged as. No pun intended with the word peg. But YouTube already knows where it puts you. So what the hell? So they should at least tell you. They should say, hey, look here, Ace Lucero, you're not going to make any money. You're not going to get any subscribers. You're going to get no views doing tech. Here's what we want you to do. That'd be different if they would do that. Now, with that being said, that you just said earlier how you guys fight for subscribers. Mm-hmm. Here's the kick in the pants for me. This last 2 months, I have not had to fight for subscribers. My channel has grown by over 5,000 subs. Now, when I was doing all these tech videos, and I hate to turn this into a rant, but there's a lot of people out there I'm speaking for. I'm sorry, but the small tech community needs a voice. And there's a lot of guys out there, a lot of gals. There's a lot of guys and gals out there making terrific content. They're getting nowhere. And it's YouTube's fault. Because I guarantee if those same guys and gals went and did what I did, and they started talking about politics, for example, boom, their stuff would explode. It's just, and here's the thing. People cannot say that tech does not get the views. Because I've watched a lot of other folks start from nothing, then all of a sudden they're over 100,000 views, and they do not make good content compared to these other folks. What they do make is controversial and divisive content.
That's exactly it. So as soon as you start making videos that actually have a clear message, it's not ambivalent, you're going to see those views increase. And that's where I do my videos more for fun. I'm not trying to make money, and I'm very just across the board. I make what I make, and I'm done. I usually don't get too political. Now, my comment section is a little different. I get all kinds of comments about stuff, but I kind of try to leave those things alone because at the end of the day, Ace, sounds like you said you were doing a report. So it's like you're kind of maybe in law enforcement, as am I. If I was in this business to be upset when someone called me a name or said something bad to me, I wouldn't be doing the job I do in my other life. You know what I'm saying? So I don't care what people say to me.
Exactly.
So I get it. It is what it is.
Exactly, but I just find it hilarious that you get guys like, for example, Delvon Digital.
Mm-hmm.
He makes terrific videos.
He does.
Period. That dude, look, he should have no less than 20,000 subs, no less. But then you get someone, I'm not going to mention any names, but there's other creators out there who they're kind of jerks. They're not real nice, and they're always coming at people sideways. They're over there with 100,000 subs. I'm like, I guess people really don't want intelligent speak. What blows my mind.
Oh, well, I think, one of the big problems too is that a lot of it is just bait, right? Like they deliberately want to piss people off so that they will come to their channel and watch their videos, and they'll post controversial things on Twitter, right? They'll tell people, fuck you, outright. They'll call people out. And, I've gone down this path. I don't know if you've seen, conversations that I've had with other tech people, but I'm at the point now, and I think a lot of people are at the point now on Twitter, especially when it comes to tech, where I just want to disengage because I'm over it.
Yes.
And that's a shame because I legitimately, as someone that loves technology, and and not just smartphones, cell phones, all that, and tablets and stuff. I love all kinds of technology. I'm really interested in AI. I really love home automation, but when there's so many people out there that are, casting these kind of like disparaging comments and, baiting people to kind of come at them, and then they just block them like they've fucking won a victory, like they've won the war, right? It's pathetic. And
we had that issue. Remember that picture I posted of my daughter jumping?
Yes.
I had the honor magic here, and I didn't even think about the mask. I told you guys millions of times. My daughter wears a mask because she wants to. We tell her you don't have to. People are going to think you're sick now that you're wearing. She still wants to wear it. She's got some other issues going on, so that's what she wants to do. And that guy came out of nowhere, and I just instead of fighting on Twitter about it, I just deleted the post. In hindsight, I should have left it up, but I ended up reposting it. But it's just like
I remember that, yes.
But why does it have to be political? It's a picture of a little girl.
It blew my mind to see that. Because the other day, I'm not going to say who it was. I go on Twitter talking about something. It was tech related, and everyone came at me, and I was like, "Damn, man!" Here's the funny part. I was agreeing with these guys, but for some reason they want. I look, since I started doing, and this is going to sound crazy to you all. Since I started doing my more political format, I'm getting nothing but love in the comments. I'm kind of blown away. I thought politics was supposed to be ugly and mean. Everyone's like, "We love you, keep it up." I'm like, what? But the other day I'm on Twitter, and all I did on Twitter was agree with something on Samsung, and I kind of like stuck up for Samsung. Yeah. And a couple dudes were like, "You're wrong." I was like, what the hell am I doing here?
Yeah.
That's so good.
And again, this is always going to be an issue. And I think, this bullshit of, who's better, what's better, we need to stop. I think it really boils down to this idea that enjoy what you have, enjoy what you like. If you want to tell people about it, you shouldn't be brought down a notch because you think that one device is better than another. Mm-hmm. And
right. Now, can I bring something up to you real quick?
Yeah.
Now, we'll try to let's go back to like a little bit of this iOS 17 talk. This is going to sound funny when I say this, right? Maybe Oh, I'm using my S23 Ultra to do this.
Yeah.
So anyway, so here I am with my iPhone 14 Pro, terrific phone, and here I got my iPad Mini, which to me this is the iPad for everyone to get, unless you're some kind of pro, whatever that means. Here's the funny thing: I kind of wish that Apple would make their. This is going to sound funny. Get ready, guys. I wish Apple would make iOS a little simpler to use. Because when I'm trying to do some of the more simpler things, I can't stand it whenever people say, "Oh, it's so easy, your grandma can use it." Really? Then how come I'm having problems? I'm having like the littlest issues. So I have the reason I carry two phones. I carry a Galaxy phone and an iPhone because there's some things that I can't figure out on an iPhone, and I just do it effortlessly on a Samsung. And like for example, I do my video thumbnails on a Samsung, right? Have you all tried making video YouTube thumbnails on your iPad or your iPhone just using the onboard software?
No.
No.
I can't do it. I've tried. But if you go and do that on, I was reaching for my S23 again. It's right there on the stand. But if you go inside of your Samsung photo gallery and you can edit the hell out of a thumbnail. You can lift images, you name it, you can do it. Yeah. But I just haven't figured out how to do that with just bare bones Apple software.
And, I think what a lot of people are hoping for when it comes to this iOS release is I think they're looking for quality of life features. So I always said that Google is very good at making software and apps that are human focused, as in people will actually use these things. Like Magic Eraser, that's fucking amazing. I know it's been around forever, but if some dickhead photo bombs your photo, boom, they're gone, right? Call screening,
it's
amazing,
baked in. Yes,
right?
It's
baked in. And so I think what Apple is maybe trying to pivot towards, and I think we're going to see that with this whole like contact sharing thing that they've got going on in iOS 17, which allows you to essentially share like a contact business card with someone else through AirDrop in a fancy way, right? I think some of these kind of like human-focused features are what I think Apple needs to pivot into. And there are some interesting things in here. I mean, you've got these contact processes, which I mentioned. I actually really like the check-in feature, which allows you to essentially know if your kid is at school or if your daughter's on her way home from a party, and you can track them in real time on maps. I think that's very clever. Have they done enough to draw some of the Android crowd back? I don't know. I mean,
and that's the crazy thing too. And look, and not only that, I have an Apple Watch. I'm wearing an Apple Watch. What the hell? I'm wearing an Apple. There's no doubt. I love iOS because the things it does right, they're too valuable to get rid of. And I'm going to say something. This is going to sound crazy. All the tech nerds are going to come at me like with a vengeance here. I know people have already asked me, how come I don't use a Galaxy Watch or a Pixel Watch? I want to tell you guys why. Google is so notorious for getting rid of services. I'm afraid to do it. Because what if I get hooked on a certain service and then Google, boom, gone? Apple doesn't do that. Apple keeps it and makes whatever they have better. I'm really hooked on Apple Health. I'm hooked on Apple Reminders. There's no way I'm getting rid of Apple Reminders out of my life. I'm not doing it.
I think it goes back to what you're used to too. Like I have iOS devices, but you guys can't even hear me, can you?
I can hear you. Yeah.
So I think what the part of the issue is like what are you used to? I mean, I have iOS device, but I don't use any of that stuff. I use my Google account for everything. So when I had an iPhone, I was making videos. And then when I tried to put it to a PC or an Android tablet, I was like, this, I'm done. I'm screwed. So now when Android has nearby share, so I'm taking this thing out, making videos, and then nearby sharing to my Android Chromebook or tablet or whatever.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And it's actually been like, holy crap. And this is what iPhone people have been doing, Apple people have been doing for so long, but it's finally coming to us. So we're picking up some of their more simplistic hardware stuff where they're picking up more of the human aspect, like Darren's saying. I think that's a great thing for iOS users. I'm not against Apple by any means. I've had all their products. Just right now, hey, the 15's around the corner. Yeah. If it's worth the upgrade, I might jump on it. I thought the
now look, I'm going to be straight up. I love all tech. I love all tech, man. I'm a Pixel guy, Galaxy guy, iPhone guy. Yeah. I love it. But I got a question for you. I got a question for you too, Jason. Are you pumped up about that? Are you pumped up about the iPhone 15?
Good question.
Yes, I am. But whether I buy or not depends on what the upgrade is.
But what are you pumped up about? What are you pumped up about?
Well, the only thing I've read so far is it's like all Apple devices, it takes a little while for them to really do a huge upgrade. Is maybe a periscope camera. I think that's one camera aspect they've been lacking. Like Samsung's got the zoom, but that's about it. The dynamic island crap, I got that on my Pixel with a software, some software thing. So that stuff doesn't really make it much of a difference to me.
Well, the rumor is they're already discussing getting rid of the dynamic island. It may not make it to the 15. That's what.
Well, they're saying they're going to separate it. It's going to be
I don't. I mean, look, one thing I will mention, Ace, just piggybacking off what you said there about, are you excited? So one of the features on iOS 17 is what they call, I forget what they call it here, live voicemail. So basically on screen, it will dictate what your voicemail is. So a little fun fact, here in Canada, we actually have to pay for visual voicemail.
Wow.
But, no, fucking crazy. I know, right? So you have to pay for visual voicemail. It's about $3-5 a month. I can't remember. But what they're saying is with this new feature in iOS 17, the carriers won't be able to charge anymore because it's baked into the OS and there's no way for them to regulate it. So, one of the most exciting features of iOS 17 for me is the ability to save $5 a month by not having to pay for fucking voicemail anymore when it's going to be part of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, look, I think there's a lot to like coming up with, Apple, and I think they're heading in the right direction. Some of these features are interesting. Some of them are kind of half-baked, like the whole journaling app thing. I'm not sure how that's going to fly. I feel like we're going back to like the 90s when people used to keep diaries and fucking, journals of their day like Tuna used to. But,
I had a heart lock on it, so no one can get.
Oh, heart lock, yeah. But listen, Ace, listen, mate, I really appreciate you joining us. Thank you for coming in and speaking your bit. We would love to have you back on the show anytime, and we'll catch you on the next one, buddy. Thanks, man.
Take care, man. Later.
Yes. Bye. So iOS 17, right? Obviously, lots of really great discussion there. Thanks, Ace, for joining us. We appreciate your point of view, and it's always a pleasure to have you on. But I think we've talked enough about Apple for one day. Tuna, are we done with Apple? Can we move past?
Well, considering our last one was focused on the Vision Pros, I think we're good for a while.
Yes, true, yes. Okay, so let's move on to the Android side of things. So. Right now, Tuna, the big defaulting device or flipping device, if you will, of the moment is the Motorola Razr. So Tuna is lucky enough to have his Motorola Razr in-house right now on screen. Take a look, everybody. Oh. I actually have mine arriving on Tuesday. So Tuna, give us your, how long have you had it? 72-hour impression?
Yeah, about 72 hours. So, okay, so we had a deep conversation with a group we had on Telegram where one of the guys was saying it's not as good as the Flip 4. The processor's not good enough. It's got the Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 Plus or Plus Gen Plus 1, whatever. Very much more efficient than the original one. And I think it's very fine for what people who buy this device are going to be using it for. Cameras, that was a big issue. Oh, they're not good enough. And you know what? The Samsung does blow it away in most aspects, but I think photography is subjective. And when I take pictures, they are kind of dull. They're not HDR. They're not bright. They're not oversaturated. But some people like that. I'm not trying to Dan's not here, but some of the Sony phones can be bland, but then you can edit them afterwards. One thing it's creeped up on me with this phone the last, I want to say 30 hours is I enjoy going for a run. Not all the time. And I have we just talked about Apple, but I have my Galaxy 5 Pro on. And for some reason, I have it synced to my Razr Plus, and I can't get YouTube music to download. And I don't know why. Like offline, it keeps giving me an error saying this video is not available. I don't know if I have too many devices or what. So I figured, hell, I'll just put it in my pocket. It's small enough. I have a zipper on the pants, the shorts I run with. It'll be fine. This damn screen, when it moves, and it's probably a setting I need to change, but when you have the YouTube music playing, it comes up on here. You can switch switch songs.
Oh no! So it's changing tracks.
So it's in my pocket and it's skipping through the song or changing tracks. And I pull it out and I move back to the main screen, which is this, and hit the power button off. But then it wakes back up and it clicks back on it. So I couldn't run with it. So I had to run with my Pixel 7 Pro, the trusty Pixel.
Yeah.
But besides that, this phone has been great. I mean, that's one small caveat. I'm sure it's just a setting. I need to figure out the download thing. It might just be a YouTube thing. But the screen on the front, I'll tell you, I mean, it's got, you guys have probably seen Captain Two Phone's review.
Yes.
I will tell you, I didn't know anything about this, but there's a game called Stack Bounce he was talking about.
Yes, I heard it's amazing.
So my daughters play Roblox, and I'm looking over my daughter's tab. I go, what is that game you're playing? She goes, I don't know. It's something bouncy thing. I said, is it called Stack Bounce? She goes, no, but it's like that game. I said, how do you know it's that game? So I started playing it. It is very addicting, but they have these series of games that you can get just for this phone on the front screen.
Right.
Another thing I've been seeing online is that the cameras are making a pain in the butt. It's not true innovation. I don't know who was it?
Saying that the cameras haven't been innovated? Is that what?
No, saying that the whole phone itself, like Motorola didn't do enough. Yeah, the bigger screen's great, but putting the screen around the
right.
Didn't do enough. They didn't. It's where Samsung's just going to make a notch supposedly, and it's going to be much better. Right. Honestly, the software is great. When you're on something full screen, you close it. It gives you the option to continue on the cover screen.
Yep.
You can. So I had someone comment on a video I did for unboxing, and he said, "This is a bogus review," which it wasn't a review. He said, "You can't use any apps on the screen. You can go to the settings and add almost any app you want." I've got my Wise Home, smart home stuff, smart things. I got Gmail. I mean, I got everything, and everything works just fine. Obviously, it's smaller. And some apps work better than others, but like any growing pains with any Android device, you're going to have to wait for developers to get on board. Yeah, that's where I think Motorola might struggle because they are not smaller company, but not as popular as Samsung, where they can get Google on board.
Yeah,
right. But I'll be honest, the battery life's been pretty good. It's only got 3,800 milliamp hour battery, but it's been pretty good. And I like the fact that I can actually use that cover screen for most everything without having to open it.
See, that's my issue. I'm wondering if when I get it, I'm going to use that more than the actual big screen. Then I'm like, what the fuck? I bought a mini phone.
Well, I mean, it does fall. It does flip.
Yeah.
When I was going to say when I get the folding device, I will let you know how good that one is too.
Yes. Oh, don't you? We've had many an argument about Pixels. Actually, it's funny that you say that because I'm just going to invite another special guest here. Hello, Tech Odyssey. How you doing, buddy?
Good. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, we can. So I just giving shit to Tuna here. He's had his finger on the buy button for the Pixel Fold here for probably the last week. Tuna, is that about right?
On and off, I could say for about a week. I hate the contract thing. That's the only thing that's keeping me away from it. But if you're going to stick with a company for more than 3 years, I can guess it wouldn't be that big of a deal. But I don't know.
Yeah, it's a nice deal. I'm assuming you're talking about AT&T.
Yes. Yeah.
So the whole no trade-in required $25 for the 256 or $30 for the 512 is pretty lucrative. It's a lot better than shelling out like $2,000 like I did. It's a spicy meatball.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're lucky. You guys are in the States. Like here in Canada, if I wanted to import it, I was just working out how much that would be. It would actually work out to be over $3,000 Canadian, which is insane. Like that would be the most expensive device I think I've ever bought.
But you have free healthcare, so.
Well, there's that. I mean, but I mean, it's still. I mean, you're not wrong. I mean, we're talking about a first-gen Pixel product, which is not known for it being the most smooth experience.
Well, and that's my hesitation. That's my hesitation. Do I want to go 3 years with a program with a phone that might be? Google might say, "Oh, you know what? We're done."
So
I don't know.
I did some math here. Well, I didn't. Google did it for me. So 3,000 Canadian is $22.78 US dollars. So yeah, and it's about $278 more than I'm paying. But I also got the case with it.
Right.
Ooh.
So, yeah, I don't even know what it looks like. It just looked blue, and I was like, "That's a cool looking blue." Whatever. I'll try.
Actually, there is a couple of videos on YouTube. If you look up Pixel Fold case blue, I'm pretty sure that someone's actually tested it out at their hands-on at their event. It's very sky blue, if that's your color.
And it's like a combination. It's like a sky blue / baby blue color, from what I can tell in the image. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't usually look at a lot of this stuff in advance. I just like for it to show up, and then I'll be surprised and formulate my own opinions.
Nice.
Well, have you seen the Reddit thread with the guy who got it? Is it UK, I think, got it early, and his thoughts were like, the bezel's not a big deal. The crease is about the same as the Fold 4. The only thing he was saying he liked was that front screen, which in the US here we don't have anything like that. It's a little bit shorter and wider.
Yeah, I'm really excited about it. One, because it brings some foldable competition here to the U.S. Of course, we had all the excitement over the last week with this new OnePlus One with the leaks on that. So I'm actually really excited about the OnePlus foldable.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm honestly more excited about that than I am the Pixel Fold, as much as I cover Pixel stuff. But it irks me that they're putting essentially the year-old Tensor 2 chip in it. I'm like, why am I paying $1,800 for a Tensor 2 product?
Yes. Yeah.
I know the new one's coming out end of the year. The next one's coming out October-ish. We're
going to have the Tensor 3 with the Pixel 8, and I mean it's going to be announced in September, likely come out October. I mean we're not far. We're on the doorstep, and I'm like, I get that I understand product cycles. This thing's been canceled and rehashed several times, so. I mean, I'm glad they just finally stuck with it and got it out, but it's one of those things where even like the Pixel Watch, it's a little lackluster in the hardware department. And we know Google's never been one to wow people with hardware specs. So, I mean, It's not like this is not their MO, but I think it should have been $14.99. And I think it's going to drop to that within probably 2 months, especially after. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think that, I mean, the Gen 1, look, I've never had any issues with my Pixel 7 Pro. I actually think it's much more fluid than most of the Android devices, other Android devices I've tried. And that includes some of the Snapdragon Gen 2 phones. But the problem is, and like you said, Tech, it's a year old, right? And we're talking about a piece of hardware that's going to need probably a lot more power than a regular Pixel 7 or 7 Pro would use, and a lot more efficiency when it comes to things like battery. Has Google done some magic to make that happen? Maybe they've tweaked it. Maybe they've overclocked it. I don't know. But
here's what I've been hearing. They're saying, the general user won't need more than a G2. Well, the general user is not going to pay $1,800 for a phone. I don't think so. And that's where I'm saying it's like the guy on Reddit was like, well, it's great for multitasking 2 screens. Well, almost every phone from the Snapdragon 400 series can do 2 screens at once. It's just a matter of the battery. I don't know. You're talking me out of it is what you're doing.
Well, I mean, I put a video out on this like 2 hours ago. You're welcome to go watch that.
I'm going to have to now.
I told people, I was like, if you bought it, good luck. I mean, I'm in the same boat. But quite honestly, if I didn't have a tech channel and I didn't heavily cover Google products, personally, I wouldn't be buying it right now because it's not worth that much, and I know it's going to drop.
Yeah.
I mean, 2 months. I give it 2 months. As soon as the Fold comes out, the Z Fold 5 comes out, that sucker's going to be
the Pixel drops. If it does drop, I'll probably buy it. But right now, I mean, shit. I mean, it's still a lot of money. And I mean, like I said, it's a first-gen product. I mean, the reviews are going to be. I predict. I mean, my magic 8-ball here. I predict the views are going to be pretty positive, but I just don't know if it's going to win over a lot of tech people. I think it's going to be, sufficient. I guess maybe.
I think that the Tensor 2. I think they wanted to go with reliable, and I have not had a bad experience with the Tensor 2. I had a good experience with my Pixel 7, good experience with the Pixel 7 Pro. I know some people have not. So I sympathize, but I still can't pin it down. I don't know if it's a carrier thing. I don't know if it's a coverage thing where their phone's working harder for certain bands out in certain areas. I don't know. And I would say it's not the best phone for gaming, although it's capable of it, and it's never overheated on me.
So I should not hit the submit button, is what you're telling me.
Well,
don't do it.
Here's the thing: if you do, and you go through your carrier, of course, you've got your 2 weeks that you can return it if you want. So, I mean, that makes it maybe a little bit easier than me because if I'm gonna have to send mine back to Google if it has a problem.
Yeah.
But I think. Maybe this is just maybe the Tensor 3 wasn't ready yet. Maybe they just wanted to do it this way. And the other thing that irks me is instead of having a lower price, they're throwing in a free Pixel Watch. And like the Pixel Watch is controversial anyway. I'm not a big fan, but we pretty much know the Pixel Watch 2 is coming out this fall. Yep. So I feel like they're just trying to get rid of stuff out of their inventory and charging a lot of money for people who are willing to pay it up front.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had a discussion last time. I brought it up. We're like, yeah, it's a great phone. Or the watch is $300. You get it for free. But if you sell it, you're gonna sell it for $150 max. If
you couldn't get $200 for that thing.
It's like Google has an excess of these things sitting in a warehouse. They're just trying to give them away.
So I think after the initial pre-orders are done, and within 3 or 4 weeks, they're gonna drop that. You won't get the watch for free anymore, and then they're just gonna put it at $14.99 or $15.99 or something. That's what I think is gonna happen. I feel pretty confident in that.
It makes me wonder too. With I think maybe going with the Tensor 2 was so that they don't butcher the sales of the regular Pixel 8 and 8 Pro or whatever it's going to be called. I mean, there's always that risk that people are going to say, well, I mean, I could get the 8 Pro, but I can get this fancy folding version of the 8 whatever if it had the latest processor. So I'm kind of wondering if, I mean, again, we know it's an experimental product. It's a first-gen product. They've never done this before. But again, I think it's more to do with the fact that they're just trying not to butcher sales of what is their bread and butter, which would be the Pixel 8 and 8 Pro line.
See, I feel differently than you. I feel like it's like the Duo. The Duo came out and it was like 2 years behind in the processor because of the Microsoft Duo, Surface Duo, because the R&D took so long. Well, this product's been canceled, and instead of investing another $1 billion or $1 million to upgrade the chips, they thought, well, let's just keep the same chip in there and just push it out. I think that, and that's my opinion. I'm not tied with Google or anything, but it's all about money at the end of the day for these companies and it's a business. So
there's a learning curve, and there was a learning curve because like Microsoft, they didn't go with Windows. Yeah, they went with Android, and then they tried to make a Windows-like experience on Android. It wasn't ready day one, and then it was frustrating because whenever they did launch the product, when they had all the reviewers they gave it to, they're like, "Oh, look," but nobody was up front saying, "Hey, I can't show you the screen." So like that generated a lot of like bad will just from the beginning. And then when it did show up, it got hammered because the software was still janky.
Yes.
So I mean, it took 6 months for that phone to get mostly usable, and then a year later, it was a pretty fantastic product. I mean, once they finally dropped Android 11. It's a pretty good product, and I think a lot of folks are enjoying it now for like the $300-$400. Amazing deal, and I do think that Google's trying to avoid that. I think that they really don't want to have a bunch of these sitting on shelves to where they have to price slash them, and then it looks like a failure. Yeah,
and they'll take a hit big time. I mean, I'm sure like these aren't. I mean, for Google, I mean, I know they got all the money in the world, but I mean, they're trying to kind of I guess fluff up the bottom line. They're trying to get it to build themselves up so that they can make better products. Look, I mean, I think again, it's interesting to see how this is going to play out with the Pixel Fold. I know people are starting to get them, give or take here and there now. I know some of the big guys in the tech space have got them. I'm waiting for a few reviews to drop just so we can get a better sense of kind of the pluses and the minuses, if you will, of what people think about it. But definitely interesting. Now, Adam, I know you were saying you were getting your Pixel tablet very soon. Is that correct?
I have mine. Yeah, I've made 2 videos about it already. Yeah, my Pixel Fold, they processed my payment. Supposedly, it might be here the 28th, which you're going to see. I think you're going to see some frustrated tweets.
Yes.
Yeah.
A lot of delays coming up. That's what I've been reading.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting. And that's going to make a lot of people unhappy. But yeah, Pixel tablet, I do have it. I set it up. I made 2 videos about it. I think it's a decent product.
Would it replace your iPad?
Well,
a little laugh. I like it.
Too direct a question there, right?
No, there's never too direct a question, but it's just so understanding. And I say this in all my tablet videos. I'm not a tablet person because all my tablet usage has been replaced with my Fold.
Correct. Yeah.
So, and I say that all the time. So I like tablets. I have my Tab S8 on the floor here that I haven't turned on in months. I have my I have the iPad Pro M1 12.9 inch I bought 2 years ago. And I got fooled because everyone was like, "Oh, we're finally going to get Final Cut Pro on the iPad. It's going to have the M1." So I was like, "I'll buy one. Shoot, why not?" And then 2 years later, I mean, I still haven't even tried it out. I don't care. But I don't like big tablets. I've maintained for a long time, just for normal tablet usage, I think 11 inches is the ideal size. And of course, this one's like 10.95 inches or something. I'm like, can you just call it 11? Can we just call it 11?
Yeah, round it up.
So yeah, like if it were 10.8, 10.7, but it's like 10.95 inches. I'm like, come on, guys. What I like about this, it will have a place, I think, on my nightstand, because I've got a Lenovo Smart Display that I've had for 4 years now, and it's starting to get kind of dated. So I really like the idea of put it on the dock. It's nice for music. It's got a pretty decent speaker in it. I will tell you the most disappointing experience on the Pixel tablet. Watching something while it's on the speaker dock and then picking it up and hearing the terrible quality speakers that's in it.
Yeah.
Oh, really? I didn't think about that. Yeah.
It sounds really good. Got some nice boomy bass, and you're like, you pull it off the stand to go do something. I'm like, God, these speakers suck. So
is having 60 hertz only a deal breaker? Because we have a lot of people complaining. I don't care personally.
So
a lot of people complain about it.
It's not. But it's odd to me that a $499 Pixel 7a has 90 hertz, but you're not going to put 90 hertz on the Pixel tablet, which has the same chip and all that good stuff. So I think they could have done it very easily. And it's also an LCD. It's not an AMOLED. But there's a good reason for that, because as a smart display, it's going to be on displaying a lot of the same stuff all the time. That's not ideal for an LED panel, because you'll risk burn-in. AMOLED is very prone to that. So I like what we get. Like I think it works as a tablet, also as a 2-in-1, and I think the G2 is perfectly fine. I mean, you can play freaking Diablo Immortal, you can play Fortnite if you really want to. I mean, it's capable, and also there's no modem. I haven't really experienced quite as much like heat issues as you would traditionally with like a Pixel 7. So I think at $499 with the speaker included, all that stuff, I think it brings value, and I think that it's still kind of a niche product though. It's like, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say, would it be a better value if they dropped $100 off the price with no dock?
I think
$399.
They have to sell it with the dock. The whole like this thing, if it's a standalone tablet, it needs 90 hertz. But just understanding and using it as the 2-in-1, it makes it slightly more okay. And also, that's why you want to use it. I mean, the whole thing is, when you're not using a tablet, it just sits around. So even if I'm not using this tablet, I'm still getting functionality and usage out of it as a smart display. So that's why I like it, because I don't normally use a tablet. I use them, I test them out, I review them, all that jazz. But then after a while, I just, I prefer to use my Fold, because it's so much smaller, compact, have my stylus, all that stuff. So I really enjoy foldable phones. So I'm looking forward to the Pixel Fold, the Pixel tablet. It's one of those things where you're like, that kind of makes sense. And I think it's at a fair enough price point.
So what do you think about this? The Flip?
It'll be on
the Razr.
The Pixel tablet, I think, will be on sale $399 for the holidays anyway. Oh, you mean this right here?
Yeah, I got the black version. Sorry.
I like this phone a lot. I made a lot of videos about it, saying like, look, the Pixel. I'm sorry, the Z Flip 4 is dead. This is the new king. And I've been waiting, because I enjoyed the Motorola Razr 5G so much, and the front screen experience was so good. I'm like, why'd I got to go through 2 generations of Samsung phones still with no usable front screen?
Yeah.
But that's because there's no competition. So now that Motorola has come out, and they got it out 2 months early, which kudos to them. They're amazing deals at carriers. I think they're, I was in there. So I have never been in a carrier store before and seen somebody actually interested in a Motorola phone. And there was like 3 people in there who were looking at the Razr who wanted to get it. And they're like, this is a good deal. I like this whole flip thing. You can use the front screen. Plus this magenta Pantone color. It's attractive. A lot of people like it. And so with being able to trade in, like you could trade in a Pixel 7. I think they give you $500 for it. But there's a lot of phones though. They're giving generous trade-in stuff over at T-Mobile. iPhone XR, they'll give you $1,000. You can get this phone for free.
Yeah, that's impressive.
That's crazy.
So I think they're being very smart. They're taking this on the chin, absorbing some of that cost just to get them in people's pockets. Because once this is in somebody's pocket, they can't go get a Z Flip 5.
Yeah,
and then
it's true.
And it's not trying to compete. It's undercutting it.
Yeah.
So I think they've been smart with it. I like the phone a
lot. Sam, welcome to the show. Sorry to keep you on the waiting there.
Oh, no, it's okay. I don't mind sitting behind Adam. That's fine. He is definitely more. It's okay. How you doing, sir?
Howdy.
So, Sam, we're just talking about Motorola Razr, which is kind of like the hot product of the week, I guess, if you will. What are your? Would you buy one? I know you're a big Duo fan. Would you do the Razr?
Yeah, absolutely. And because I like the flippable, like I said, I'm into that form factor because, like I said, it serves different kinds of purposes, right? So remember, the Fold gives you the capability of having some more productivity, right? And the Duo, of course, as anybody who watches my show would know, I'm a fan. But the Flip essentially gives you back the slab, right? So it gives you more of a pocketable slab phone. So I think it kind of serves the same purpose as why I want a Pixel Band. Right. I'm the kind of guy that would really rather have $150 more Mi Band kind of notification, not necessarily app driven device. Right.
Yeah.
And so I think it serves two different markets. And so I love the Razr. I'm a big fan of Razrs or just Moto in general. But again, we run into that same problem, which I'm glad Adam kind of brought up, was the fact that he saw in a carrier store that people are actively pushing this. And the problem with any of these other initiatives other than Samsung and Google and Apple is, most Americans buy phones through carriers. Not many people are going to stores and buying phones off the shelf at $999 with no trade-ins, right?
Exactly.
So if there isn't enough traction there, I feel it's like, Moto finally is getting somebody out there where people are pushing this device at a carrier store where people are taking a swing at it ahead of the Fold 5 or the Flip 5, which is kind of nice. I think it serves two different markets and two different consumers, and I'm glad that somebody, at least at a carrier store, I don't know about AT&T, that's where I have my carrier through, is pushing it. That's kind of nice to see. I'm glad that they're doing that.
See, when I come back with Motorola, they're actually making devices that are really good. Unfortunately, they're overshadowed by the bigger companies like Samsung and Apple. That Edge Plus that I had was a beautiful device, but no one really cared about it because it wasn't offered through the carriers. Like Sam said, once it gets to the carriers and they start pushing that, and it's a good deal, like $5 a month, I guess that could be $180, I think. I think that's when they're going to start getting some traction. I think Motorola can fit that bill for that third spot with them, and Google can duke it out to get that third spot below Samsung and Apple. So.
It helped out a lot with LG no longer having phones on the shelves at the carriers because now Motorola can put a few phones out, and I like Motorola just fine. I never had anything against them other than when the initial Razr came out because I was too poor to afford one back in like 2002 or whatever. And I always wanted one, but I was like, I can't spend $499 on a flip phone. So back in like 2002, I'm like, you people are crazy. Why would you spend that much? And then
so this is not the Razr I remember. The Razr I remember had just like an LCD screen right here that just gave numbers. Do you guys remember that? Like the V3 or something? That's the Razr I remember, but this I guess is a little newer.
But then there I was in 2005 handing out lots of money to get my BlackBerry 7100G. It required its own data plan. I was paying like $120 a month for service just to carry that sucker, and I was so cool with in my pocket. I had my holster. I'd be out getting my emails and stuff, which I was in the military back then. I was like a senior airman. I wasn't getting a whole lot of emails back then, but I always loved them. But the Razr I couldn't get on board with. My brother had one, and I think somebody else I knew in my family had one. I was like, y'all are crazy. I'm not spending $499 on a freaking flip phone. But
I was just going to say, I think Motorola's kind of, they're smart in that they're playing up the nostalgia a little bit on this one too.
Yeah.
Right? They're saying, hey, remember this phone you had back in, 2000s, whatever. Here is, the successor. Like, this really is kind of I want to say, I know they've had other generations of the Razr the last couple of years, but this is kind of the one that I think they're hoping will kind of bring back some of those like nostalgic Motorola Razr vibes, right? And I think that comes down to just the almost seemingly perfect blend of smartphone and pocketable phone that they're going for. And I think that's the angle for Samsung too this year, is that they want to get this phone into pockets. They don't want it to be seen as a niche product.
Right.
And they want the flippable phone, which I've said from the beginning is the phone that I think will win the folding race, because it's the one that people that remember flip phones will buy, and it's something cool that you can put in your pocket with a pair of skinny jeans like Tuna wears, and and it'll be amazing, right? You can walk around and don't have to worry about it falling out. Like that was my problem with the S23 Ultra. Every fucking time I sat down, it fucking fell out of my pocket, and I don't wear skinny jeans. So, and I mean, this gives you an idea of just kind of like, sizes of phones are a huge thing, and in feeling the hand is huge as well, which a lot of these companies seem to forget about.
Yeah, so I'm primary daily driving my S23 Ultra right now, and I got to say, when it first came out, I mean, I love the phone. I talk about it.
So do I. Yeah.
I think it's the best phone Samsung's ever made. But I'm kind of at the point where I don't like phones this big and bulky. So I've been using the Sony Xperia 1 Mark V. I had it for a month before I had to send it back to Sony. And man, I love that phone. I love the form factor. I love how light and thin it is. It's like 100 grams lighter than the stinking S23 Ultra. I love the screen. There's just so much I love about that phone. I pre-ordered mine. Like right after I got it, because the pre-order went live, and I pre-ordered the sucker. So even though I had the one from Sony, I had to send it back. I like it enough that I'm paying like $1,400 for the sucker. And that's going to be my daily driver foreseeably for a while once I get it back. But I've missed it so much since I've gone back to using this one, even though this is a very good phone. I think for most people, an S23 Ultra is a better phone than a Sony Xperia 1 Mark V. I just love that phone. So
and I think a lot of people do too. I think you're not the only one who feels that way. There's a lot of people on Twitter, like I know a couple of our regulars, Dan in particular, he's a big fan of the Xperia line, and that's all he uses.
I saw him posting pictures with his Xperia 1 Mark IV. It's a good one, and they finally got it right this year. Like the problem last year was that Snapdragon 8 Generation 1 was just a terrible chip. Like it was generating too much heat. It shows you the reality of what happens when these things get tested in a lab versus when they get out into reality. Because they test these things, they got the little white suits on with their smocks on their shoes and their face masks, 70, 68 degrees in these laboratories. They're like, oh, it functions perfectly. And then you take it outside and it's 100 degrees here, real feel 113. I'm like, why is my phone overheating recording video for 1 minute?
So is the 8 Gen 1 the new 810? Is that what we're saying?
This is like the 808.
808. Oh man. Jesus.
You remember G Flex 2?
Oh my God. How can we forget
that? I love the phone. I love the phone, but that processor was so bad.
Yeah, my problem with Motorola is going to be it's the same thing as like it's the best phone that nobody's going to buy because nobody knows it exists unless you walk into a carrier store. I mean, Google has made a lot of progress finally because after the Google 5 and 5A, they said, hey, maybe we should start running ads, maybe making people know that these are the features we have. And again, it's like if you look at the two not best, HTC and LG, it wasn't because the hardware or software was a failure. It's the best Android devices that nobody ever heard of. So when you're walking into a store, it just got swept under the rug because nobody even knew it existed. And that's what OnePlus ran into. Try to get into T-Mobile with the 8 and the 9, and it's just like it's dead on the vine. So Americans just don't know it exists. I mean, how many times I know Tuna's probably been in a situation where you've had a non-Samsung device or non-Google device, and you've got it, they're like, oh, what's that? And they're like, OnePlus. Never heard of her. Who is she? It's like, it's another. Yeah, it's
all the time. Yes,
it's just so infuriating because really you're kind of in that situation where in the United States, which is the market that Adam and I and we all talk to really mostly, it's the great devices you're not going to hear about just because there's no visibility to any of them. Same with the Duo. It's just you don't know it exists. I've had the Duo and people go, holy shit, Microsoft makes a phone? It makes it, and they're like, it's just a shame.
I'm still crossing my fingers for a Duo 3. I'm very pro. I love my Duo 2.
I hope so too, but I honestly think I think especially with the Fold and the OnePlus and now the new Fold 5, I think Microsoft's just going to do what they normally do, which is having a couple of iterations and then deciding it's just not going to be
honestly
palatable. It's a shame. I hope so.
I think we'll see one next year, and I think it's going to be running Windows. I think that this was a good I think it was a good experiment. I think that they got plenty of positive feedback, but largely a lot of people wish that it had Windows, not Android, and it needs to have some sort of exterior display. So I think now, and it won't be $16.99. I think if maybe next year, get a hold of a Samsung display, kind of redesign things, give us an exterior screen of some sort, and pitch it with Windows 11 and put it at like $12.99, $13.99. I think it'll sell. And I've said since this one came out, we don't need a year over year. There are some devices that don't need a year over year. The Duo 2 is still a fantastic phone 2 years later. Yeah. So I think going into the third year, it'll be a life cycle upgrade time. And I think Windows 11, I think if we get one next fall, Windows 11, $1,300, I think it'll move. It'll move well enough that they'll keep.
Do you think Windows 11 is good on a small device? I had the ROG Ally, and that thing was terrible. That Windows 11 thing killed that thing. I mean, it had the Armory crate that had their OS.
I have the Ally. I haven't had any issues with it, but I'm not actually trying to use Windows on it. I mean, I just used it to install the stuff I needed to so I could play my games. But as far as from like an operational perspective, it's been flawless. I haven't had any problems.
Yeah, it runs great. I'm just saying, like, when it opens up, it starts as a window device, and it's like it's tiny. But I guess it is a 7-inch screen, 8-inch, whatever it is. I get it. But once you get logged in, the Armory crate handles everything as kind of like the Steam Deck had their main view. So
I tell you what, I have a Steam Deck. I got it. I pre-ordered it like a year before I even got the sucker. It showed up, and I've not really enjoyed it. I've had so many problems with it being janky and takes so long, freezes up. Everybody's like, "Oh, the Steam Deck's so much better." I'm like, "Have you used both of these?" Because I hate this. I hate my Steam Deck, and I love the Ally. And it's funny because the biggest thing that gets me, and I'm not going to waste too much time talking about games, but with the Steam Deck,
so go ahead. Yeah,
it made me so mad because of the Linux-based operating system and then the anti-cheat and compatibility issues. My favorite game to play is Dead by Daylight. Like, I've played it 30 hours in the last week on this Ally.
Nice.
And for 2 years, I couldn't play it on the Steam Deck, and then magically, apparently like 3 or 4 weeks ago, they finally made it compatible with the Steam Deck.
Yeah.
Like, why would you do it as soon as I buy the Ally?
Right.
Yeah.
So, but I like the ergonomics better on the Ally. The screen better, brighter. The speakers up front way better. I will say though, the controller lag is actually more responsive on the Steam Deck than it is on the Ally, but the 120 hertz is crispy. Like I so much more enjoy play. Like I tested it out one day on the Steam just to kind of see how well it was a Steam Deck, and I'm Team Ally. I love this thing.
Yeah, my kids are pretty good. Yeah, I have. I played like I only played a few games. I don't have time to game all the time, but I had like Doom. Was it Doom Eternal? And then I played. My daughter wanted me to play Poppy's Playtime. I didn't ever heard of it until then, and that was. And it was
that one.
It's actually like a horror game. Some factory with like something trying to kill you. But anyways, what's nice about it is I actually went to the settings and I could put it in 1080p. You can't do that on the Steam Deck, which was kind of crazy.
I think the Ally is a better product, especially for people are like, oh, it's not a console, it's a Windows. They're like, yeah, it's a handheld gaming PC is what it is, and it runs that way. So if you're a PC gamer and you're coming over, like the Steam Deck can be very frustrating, especially for like the way the software and the desktop mode makes no sense to me. I know nothing about Linux. I've been a PC guy. I've been building PCs for like 30 years. I love. I'm sorry, 25. But I love the Ally. So it's very intuitive. You just pop it on. You Windows. Okay, let me get rid of Edge while it complains. Let me grab Chrome. Let me install my stuff, and then bam, it just works. So I've really been enjoying that. But I do want to say about Motorola. I think they've been doing some really good stuff. Like they're having a Cinderella year with their hardware. But the two things, like I said, they need to advertise, which they don't. And they need monthly security patches, and they need more reliability on the software update front.
Well, to close this out, I've got a great thing to say. So you talked about retro. Motorola has a retro edge. So BlackBerry, I know they've been sold and remade 16 times. In closing, to bring BlackBerry back, they're going to do a retro version of the Storm.
Oh,
with the whole screen clicks.
Yes,
I love that thing. I used to love that.
It'll
fail again. That's exactly right.
So I probably, next to Crackberry Kevin, the biggest BlackBerry fan on this planet, and I mean I've got the bold like right here.
Wow. Yeah.
I mean I bought one of these the other day because I never had one when they first came out. I got mad at them because they wouldn't put 3G internet on their stinking phones. I was like, why am I going to keep rehashing the bold curve with the 2G modem? So there was like an awkward 2 years where they kept making these with crap modems with terrible internet, and we were waiting on BlackBerry 10 to come out, and they came out with a storm, and then so I finally I used mine for a while. I used a Pearl for years. I kept blowing the trackballs out. I used them for years.
Yes.
And then I waited, and I just jumped over. I jumped over to an iPhone because I was deploying for like 10 months, and I could use internet-based text messaging to talk to my family back home. So I switched to an iPhone, the iPhone 3G. It was the very first one I ever got. And then when I came back home, they had some Android options. I waited, and I got the Galaxy S3. And 6 months, I think it was 6 months after the S3 came out, they finally launched the BlackBerry Z10. And that day, I went and traded in my S3, and I got the Z10. And that was huge. I love BlackBerry 10. I had the Z10. As soon as the Q10 came out, I went and got the Q10. I had the Classic. I had the Leap. I had the Z30. I had the Passport. Like, I had them all. I still do. And
T2 was my favorite.
I think there is a time and a place for them, but it's going to be as a retro phone. It's going to be about probably $300, probably a little bit more on the simplicity, like minimalistic side. And somebody's going to have to foot the bill for it because they're not going to. But I think it's coming. Maybe it's 2 years, maybe it's 3 years. Nostalgia does have a strong playing point. If they can make it affordable, bring back a good physical keyboard, and just give like a good browser, good minimalistic experience. Let you put your WhatsApp and all that stuff, because they were very contained. They were very adamant. Like, it took about a year of failure for them to finally get Android compatibility where you could use Android 4.3 on there. So then you could sideload stuff. Most people aren't sideloading anything, and the Amazon App Store was trash. So they wanted everybody to use BBM. They still thought everybody wanted to use a BlackBerry, and social media is what killed them. Everyone's like, "Oh, it was the phones, it was security." No, it was the closed operating system and the lack of social media apps.
That's what did a bit in the end.
But you missed the point. You said if BlackBerry comes back, they'll have to introduce something. They're gonna roll in here like a storm.
It won't be the storm.
See, I already gave them their marketing. I know, I'm messing up.
It'll be very slow. It won't be a storm. It'll be like the evening tide. Like, it's just going to slowly come in.
like a slow drizzle.
Like, they'll never have market share again. But I think there's enough people that still want one at this point. Even if they sell 1 million devices, the problem is BlackBerry's too proud. Like, they would never do a crowdfunded. They will never license their IP to anybody. So they're very stupid. As a business, they're just very stupid. But
I'll be honest with you. The Key 2 was one of my favorite phones ever. And I had all the BlackBerries like you did, Adam. And I thought with the Key 2, when they did release the Key 2, I thought, this is it. They're on the cusp of something big here. They're going to make the screen bigger. The keyboard's going to be just as good as it was. And, a better processor, a better camera. And maybe I thought that was it. And then done. Boom.
It was What was the device that slid up? The screen slid up. It was the last one. Their last
that was
the Priv, right?
The Priv, yeah.
Priv. I like that device, but it was so slow.
Well, it had the Snapdragon. It had the 808 in it. It got as hot as a sinking sun. Like, that's great for winter because it'll keep your leg warm. But there was so many things along the way, and they would just miss the mark every time. And it's like you're just getting obliterated everywhere. But the other problem that really made me mad, like, there actually was, like, AT&T actually wanted a BlackBerry, like a Key 3. Like, there was some market interest in it. But problem is TCL wanted to do their own thing. Like, they didn't want to keep making BlackBerries. They weren't that profitable, and they wanted to start making their own phones. So, like, big time. So there was a lot of conflict of interest there. I think I like you. I think they were one phone away from legitimacy. Yeah.
Well, listen, on that note, we will wrap it up today. Adam, thank you very much for joining us, buddy. It's always a pleasure to have you on here. And just on a side note, Adam, our thoughts and prayers are with your mum. We know you mentioned some stuff. I won't get into it now, but thoughts and prayers with you. Thank you very much. Tuna, Sam, we really appreciate you guys being on here. And look, guys, we're back every Sunday, 6:30 p.m. With all the latest and greatest tech talk. And thank you very much for everybody in the comments. Thanks very much to Ace, Mike. We've been looking at your comments, watching comments there. great conversation today, guys. And please like, subscribe, follow, and all of that fun stuff on YouTube. And we hope to see you all again next week. Thanks, guys.
Have me.
Bye.
Have a good night.
Thanks, guys.